To change, changeling. Okay, so Thorax, he's leading like everybody, right? And as he's leading everybody, they all, relinquish themselves, and they give love freely, and they become like these really like cool, big, antler guys. And so like they're in this like huge group, and they all have these connections, and they sort of they elevate, right? They transcend, and they become like super big, right? And so they they actualize their full potential, and they get to like the peak state that they can operate at, which is like super, super, super cool. Except for one guy, right? Thorax's brother. Thorax's brother doesn't want to change, and he doesn't want to go to the new way of living, and he doesn't want to be like a new changeling and give his love, which sucks, right? And so Thorax, he doesn't know what to do, and so he does like the best thing he can do. He raises his hand and he says, "I need help." And so he gets like Trixie and Starlight to come and give him assistance, and they mastermind together, and they figure out, what can they do to get the last guy like in the whole empire who won't change to come back to them and be part of their community, because what they don't want to do, like they don't want to give up, right? They don't want to give up on him. They love him, right? They care about him, and so it matters to them that he works out, and it matters that they can help this guy and they can save him and he can be part of the community and the group because they care about him, and he's an important part of their family. And so Thorax, he gets them, and they come together and they go through this journey, right? And they see the problem is like they can't force anything. They can't force him to do it. They can't force him into it, right? Like no matter what happens, it's got to be internal. It's got to be his decision to make a change. It's got to be his choice to come and unite and ascend to this new love that they have together, right? Which is like super, super, super huge. And so he tries to talk him into it. He tries to speak with him, right? And they actually like have this like huge meeting, right? And so Trixie, Thorax, and Starlight, they all come together and try to speak with their friends and the main six, and his brother, right? And as they talk, his name's like Pharnix, right? So they talk with Pharnix, and they're trying to like talk to him about friendship and relationships and connections, and he will not stand for it. He hates it. He's like, no, this is bogus, right? This is not happening. I don't want to be a part of this group. And he's pushing away, because like at a very foundational level, these guys are sort of like forcing it onto him, right? And they can't force him to change. They can't make him change. They can't push him into this social circle. They can't push him into the group. And he can speak his feelings as much as he wants with himself and with his friends and with the ponies and with the people that already have transformed. And what he says is that he doesn't like it and he's not a fan. And so with these guys, the problem is like they care way too much about his transformation, and they cannot control what he does. I remember for so long, I tried to like control the people in my life, and I tried to control like my brother, right? And he would be like mean to me, and I've tried to like stop, and try to control him, and it just would not work ever, right? And the same actions, the same activities they keep happening over and over and over again. And the only way to have like lasting change is to have this internal shift in the other person. And it's this idea like, I was really struggling with like the way he was treating me. I could not like force him to stop like through like whining or yelling at him, right? It just does not work. The only way to have like lasting change is to back off and say, look, I care, but not that much. And so because of that, you need to just sort of like ignore, and it's so difficult, right? And I've been through this situation so long, and it hurts, right? And it's tough, but you have to ignore the negativity. You have to ignore the dissent, and they need to just walk away from like trying to force it on them. Like they should care, right? And they have to always be there for him, but they can't like force it into him, right? And so they decide that they're going to like set up a situation where he can have his own epiphany and he can discover on his own way like the power of love and friendship and ascending to the new changeling order, right? And so that's what they do. So Starlight, she finds this like giant monster, and as a group, like she tries to get like everybody to help her, get this big monster and fight this. There's like this huge monster, right? And she thinks that if she can get it to come to the changelings and she can bring it to the changelings, then everybody will come together and they'll all have to unite and fight as the monster as a big team, right? And so there's like this big like mole rat, like this huge rat, and she lures him towards everybody with like a pile of like food, so like leaves. So she like leaves these leaves, this food, and lures him towards like the entire empire. And she doesn't like tell anybody about it. So she's like totally and completely like untransparent, and she doesn't like bring anybody else into her plans, into her action, into her motive. She doesn't let them know what she's doing. And so that's like her first problem. That's why she struggles like to get everybody on board. So she wants like everyone to fight this big monster, and that's her plan to show him the power of friendship, right, and the power of love. But nobody else wants to fight this giant monster, right? And they would have told her that if she just asked, but she didn't ask, right? And so Starlight, she gives this huge, like she goes on for like a minute and a half, like this massive speech to all the changelings, and trying to get them all to fight on her side and to be with her. And so let's look at that. And she realizes that she cannot force everybody to try to fight this giant monster. It just will not happen. She can't force them to. They have to care internally. And that's what she gets, this guy to do, right? And so she, on her own, goes to fight him, and then she's inspired, right? So everybody follows her, and they follow her, and they follow her. They follow her because she's a leader, and she takes the risk on her own hands to make it happen. And as she goes to this big fight, she's following Farnax, and she wants to like make sure he's safe and he gets away okay, because he's leaving the hive because he's so isolated and so sad. And they run into the giant monster, and they have to fight him together, and they have to work as a team to defeat him. And as they go through this process, these guys come and they help him. And it's so much easier to defeat him when there's like 50 of them, right? Because there's power in numbers, right? And it's so much stronger when you're with your friends and with others, right? And so they all fight together, and them fighting together to defeat this giant monster, it shows Farnax the power of these relationships and of these connections and of being with others. And then what's really cool is Thorax comes in, and what does he do? He sacrifices himself for the good of the relationship he has with his brother. And he tells him a story, and he reminds him of a time when they were kids that Farnax protected Thorax against some bullies at school. And he puts pity on himself. He makes fun of himself, and he points out his own flaws so that Farnax feels better about himself and feels like he is superior to those around him. And only once that happens, and only once he has boosted up his ego, Farnax decides that he's right, and that he has this epiphany that like he does need to work with others, and he should connect with them, and they should be a team. They should be together. And so because of that, he like transcends, and he releases all his love, and he becomes like the new ascended changeling, just like everybody else, because he finally makes the realization and the connection in his mind that this is the new way to go. And only once he discovers that does he actually commit to this new mentality and this new lifestyle, which is so powerful, because it all comes from within. Awesome. Okay, so daring done. So Rainbow, she's sitting with Pinky, and they have like this newspaper, right? And they realize like there's this huge headline on the newspaper that Daring Do, an AK yearling, is going to stop writing books. She's going to stop authoring new books in her series. And she's like super surprised. She's like, what the heck is going on? No way. And so she goes over to Daring Do's and tries to find her, and she's not really home, so she looks for her, and she finds that she like went on the road, right? And so Rainbow finds her on the road, and they have this deep connection, right? They have this bond, right? And so they follow each other around, and what happens is they get to this big, city. And in this city far east of the world, right, She explains that like everybody is upset with her and angry with her because of the work that she's done as Daring Do, right? And all the people she's tried to save. While she goes on these huge adventures, behind her back, right, she like accidentally like knocks things over, you know, she breaks things. She's having huge fights in the middle of public, and so when there's huge fights in the middle of town, you know, every once in a while, like she hits a statue or hurts a card or something like that. And like the problem isn't her, the problem is the criticism that she gets. And there's this one guy who stands out, and he's like preaching to the crowd, you know, how bad Daring Do is, and how she's destroying the world, and he's like super negative, super angry, just trying to like destroy her public reputation and her public opinion, right? And so these guys, they find him, and he's going around this huge town, and like in this town, right, she like destroyed one of their biggest towers one day, and it just knocked it over, and it fell over, and it was super sad for everyone. It was this huge statue they had that got destroyed while she was trying to save this super important artifact that she saved, right? And so this guy, he's riling up negativity, he's riling up criticism, the exact opposite of what you want to focus on, which is praise, right? Like Rainbow Dash, she's always praising Rainbow Dash. Or not, she's always praising Daring Do. And because Rainbow Dash always praises Daring Do, they have a very, very strong relationship, because it's a relationship deep-seated in positivity and praise and happiness and growth, right? And so that's why they're really, really close friends. Like one of the main reasons is this positivity and this praise. But what Caballerion, like basically this guy, this is Caballerion, right? So this is like the enemy, right? This is the bad guy. And he's getting everybody super upset at Daring Do, so that this negativity will transfer over to her, and it'll make her have self-doubt and want to go and quit writing, right? And then if she quits, then he can go and, you know, take over the world and steal all the stuff and make a bunch of bank by leveraging and just taking things that aren't his, which is like super, super messed up, right? And so like Rainbow Dash, she tries to get people to come to her side and come to Daring Do's side. And so she like comes and disses on him and tells everyone why she's the coolest ever and how many things that she saved from the world. And as she starts to talk to these individuals on a one-on-one basis and get closer and closer and closer to them, what she realizes is that, you know, there are all these small little mistakes that she made over time. Like maybe she forgot to pick up her tab or her bill somewhere, or she like knocked over someone's cart. And if you look at like the overarching image, like there are so many amazing great things that she's done. She's saved so much of these people and of their friends and their towns from terror and horror. And then they're focusing here on like the bottom 5-10% of the negative things that happen, which is just a shame. It's a shame. This little teeny sliver gets 80% of the public attention from these people, right? And it sucks, but it's this concept that, you know, you can do 100 nice things for someone, but they'll remember the 2 mean things that you do more than anything else, which is a shame, but it is so true. And that's why, like, when we talk about giving tons and tons of praise and very, very small amounts of criticism, it's because you really, really need to have like a 90-10 balance between like quality good things and bad things, because people remember these bad things way out of proportion. So you can have just a very, very like small sliver of bad things, but people remember them like they're a vast majority of what you do. And so that's why you want to make sure that you have like a huge pool of compliments and of praise and of great things that you do and you say and you contribute to others, because this needs to overpower the small insignificant number of bad things that happen, right? And it's this idea that, like, you know, if you go to jail like once for murder or for something really, really bad, like that one bad thing might have been like 1% of your life, but it doesn't freaking matter, because that's what everybody is going to view you as. So they're going to see you as like a murderer or a convict or whatever, right? And so it's this idea that like this tiny sliver of what happens cannot be big. Like it sucks, because this is what everyone focuses on. And when this is what everyone focuses on, it becomes all of Daring Do's life, because it's all anybody talks about, and it destroys her self-esteem, it destroys her confidence. And this is why, like, you need to focus only on the positive things, right? Because the positive things are the majority of things, and you're going to get a vast majority of the picture by focusing exclusively on the positive things. But when you exclude the negative and you look over the small little problems and the small little errors that happen, all of a sudden, you're still getting most of the information, but what happens is that your viewpoint and your perspective on life is like 10,000 times happier and clearer and better for you and your life. Like, literally, negativity like kills you. It poisons you, right? And you will die earlier if you're negative. You live longer if you're happier and you're smiling, right? It's like straight facts. And so, like, for me, like if there's newspapers or there's articles or there's crap, like I will not ever read negative things, because the negative things are what most people are focusing on, and that's why most people are like seriously having problems, right? You don't want to ever think about that negative thoughts, those negative emotions, but instead focus exclusively on the positive things. And that's exactly what Daring Do needs to do here. And so as she goes through, like, they have honest criticisms and they have like honest suggestions of things to do, and so they have to like sort of overcome this enemy, overcome the villain, and then they have to sort of, because Caballero, he comes and he captures Rainbow Dash and he ties her up, and then they go on this big adventure, and then they have to fight each other, and then Daring Do comes and saves her, and they have this huge fight, and they realize that like they always need to be, you know, on the guard for this villain, right? And that she has to keep on with her career, and she can't just walk away, or else he'll like tear up the whole town and steal everything, right? And so she like gets reinstated, and she has full faith and belief in the need for what she's doing in her career and her work, because of this event, and because of like him trying to ruin her public appearance. She just comes back and bounces back stronger and harder and faster. And at the same time, right, she might have like this temporary pain, but she's going to come back and rebound and be so much better, because she now knows like the small little things that annoy people, and so she can fix those, right? And so she they build like a new version of the statue that she knocked over and destroyed, and then they like gift it to the town as a present, so that they feel better about her and they increase their opinion publicly, and more importantly, it gives her this sense of fulfillment that like she righted this wrong and she took care of what everybody thought was bad. And so because of that, like, she's totally cool now, right? She's clear, she's in the clear, and she's on everyone's radar as someone that's good, right? And so it's going to help her have better life success and better fulfillment and commitment with everything that she does, because now everyone's focusing on the positive things, and when people focus on the positive things, the growth is so much greater than it ever could be, or could ever even dream to be, with negativity, which is just terrible, right? And this is the coolest thing that they can do, right? Which is awesome. Let's go to next one. Awesome. It isn't the main thing about you. Okay, so Pinkie Pie and Rare. So Rarity is getting ready for like this photo. So Photo Finish is coming to town, and Photo Finish is going to take a bunch of pictures of Rarity for a magazine, because she's like super beautiful, and it's all about like her mane, right? So she's got like this really pretty mane, and so Photo Finish is coming to take a whole bunch of magazine photos while she's still super pretty, right? And so she goes around and she's going and saying hi to everybody. And she walks into like the to Pinkie Pie's like the cake store, right? The cake shop, and Pinkie Pie is playing with the cake, the babies, right? And as she's playing with the babies, you know, Rarity walks in, and Pinkie, she's got the kids, and she's spraying like spray cheese everywhere. And so she sprays it, and the can like explodes, and there's like this giant mess, and the whole the whole shop gets filled with like all this like spray stuff all over the place, and it gets all over Rarity's mane. And so she's like freaking out, and she doesn't know what to do, right? Because this is like her core thing, and she can't have all this crap in her head and her hair when Photo Finish comes, because like this is her event, right? She's going to showcase everything, and she'd literally been going through the whole town, you know, prior to this, like whisking around her mane and being super proud and happy about it, and just like emphasizing that this is like a super huge part of her life. It's a huge part of her identity, comes from this physical the hair, right, that she has, which I guess is true for like a lot of women. I don't freaking know. And so that's like a really important thing for her. And so as this happens, like, she's freaking out. She has like no clue how she's really going to move on from this and have success from this point forward, like in any aspect of her life. So it's just really tough for her. And so the first potion she makes is a remover potion for Pinkie Pie, and it's supposed to remove all this stuff from the walls and from the ceiling and all that stuff. And then the second potion she makes is like this cool little shampoo for Rarity that'll like get all this crap out of her hair. And so she finishes making them, and they both kind of look the same, right? They're both, I don't know, black, whatever. And so as she explains how she makes it, Rarity's like, cool, I gotta go, I'm like in a hurry, right? And so she knocks over both the potions on her way out, and so she just like real quickly picks one up, and then whooshes out of there because they look the same. And she picks up the wrong potion. And then she goes home, right? And she goes home, and she takes, this is her, and she gets in her shower, and she starts taking a shower with this new potion from Zecora. And she washes in her hair, gets everything going, gets it going hard, and she gets out of the shower, looks in the mirror, and like all of her hair falls out. Really a lot of her hair falls out because she grabbed the remover potion. And she's freaking out because this photo shoot is in like a day or two, and so there's like no way that she can like change anything or grow it back, and so she's just like totally shocked, right? And it's this idea that like so often we do like everything we can to prepare for like a super important event, and then like right before it starts, like everything goes wrong, and like you've got to care, but like not that much. And for Rarity, like she freaks out when this happens, when in reality you've got two choices. You can either interpret this as a negative thing, or you interpret it as a positive thing. And that's exactly what she needs to do. She needs to interpret it as a positive thing. And so at first that's a little bit difficult for her, but she's got to cut this negativity. And so she goes around like with her hair like in a bag, like hiding from everybody and trying to figure out what the heck to do, because she just does not know, right? It's a tough situation, because this is what she's been working on for so long, and like she basically like ties up her identity with her hair and her appearance, and she has no clue what to do. She's like social outcast. She's trying to get like a spell for her hair, and she just doesn't know what to do. And so she does what you need to do, and she calls in her friends, right? And ask them, what to do. And the group comes, the mastermind comes together, and they work through the process, and they realize that there's like nothing they can do to physically change her, and all they can do is mentally change her. And so they try to cheer her up originally and try to like say this is like a really nice thing and force her into happiness. But remember, force doesn't matter, right? Force won't work. It's not an effective way to change people. And so what they realize is they need to give her an internal epiphany to change her perspective, to change her viewpoint. And so they get her like some new clothes, and they show her how she can help people, and she can do more with her view and her style than just have like pretty hair, and that she's worth more on the inside, and she can always use herself and her being to express herself more than anything like on the outside, right? And so they give her this inspiration that she can be more, and they give her this belief to do and to be and to succeed, which is so powerful. And sometimes it takes other people to get this belief, and it takes others to give us full back faith in ourselves once and for all, again and again and again, in different aspects of our lives. But the instant that you do, it is so much easier to have success, because you know from yourself and from those around you that you will succeed, and you have it under control. And so she like puts together a new line of dresses and clothes and like hair coloring, and she changes her entire look into like some punk rock look, and she's got like this cool like wavy hair all over the place, and it's like this cool new look, right? And all she has to do is flip this situation from a negative to a positive. And the instant she does that, she changes her style, she becomes happy, she's joyful, because like everyone's like worried about, how do you increase your happiness? How do you become more fulfilled? Like everything is mental, right? It's all you on the inside, and all you have to do is change how you perceive the world around you, and like you're 10 times happier the instant that you realize that you're so lucky just to be. And that's like so powerful. And so she takes on this new perspective, and she becomes happy with herself. She becomes happy with those around her, and she realizes that like it doesn't matter, how she got here, right? because now she's here. She just has to live with it, and she just has to accept it and move forward. Like, there's no point in saying this is bad. There's no point in saying, going against something or saying it's bad or crap or whatever, right? Because what matters is how she feels about herself. And all she has to do is make herself feel better, either forcefully or through smiling or surrounding yourself with friends and happy, like-minded people. Because the instant that she does that, everything fades away, right? And she has like this cool internal, drive and motivation to do more and to be more and to have like this new style. And she goes to this photo shoot and she absolutely crushes it because she has inspiration and because she put in the work to make like a new line of clothes and kind of more importantly to convince herself. And so often we have to convince ourselves that she was willing and ready and in a position to succeed. And that's exactly what happens. A couple of months later, the magazine comes out, she's on the front cover, everybody thinks it's amazing, everyone's copying her, and she's like got the coolest look ever for a short period of time, then she goes back to normal, right? So she just makes the most out of a rough situation, because like, even if something looks bad, you can flip it, right? And you can make anything a great thing, and you can like turn anything that happens to you into a plus, and all you have to do is just change the way that you think about it. And that's exactly what happens here, and she has like huge success and impact because of it, which is like super cool. So yeah, and also like, if you were wondering, Pinky got the shampoo potion, so she basically just like made a giant bubble bath inside of her house, which is kind of cool. It was funny.